Hello.
Welcome to the meeting. Les, is there anybody else in the waiting room?
No one else.
Okay, we might get some folks from the School Facilities Authority at some point,
Okay,
but we've got our entire committee here, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I can't keep things straight, so please do it for me. All right.
Just missing Mike, but I don't know if he's.
Oh, yeah, Mike. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, you're right. He is on this committee, I recall. Okay, I think I'll call the meeting to order now. It's 12:01 on Tuesday, February 7th. And it's a meeting of the Exemptions Committee of the Environmental Advisory Council. I'm Ron Terry, the chair of the committee. I'm going to call on everyone else to introduce themselves. And for our council members only, please state if you're the only person in the room or if there's somebody else with you. In my case, I'm the only one here. Onauna?
Hi, everybody. Onauna Thone. I'm the only one here. Thank you.
Makala?
Kala Kamwana, I am alone.
Thank you. Michelle?
Michelle Lefebvre, I'm alone.
And then also Les, it looks like you're alone in the room at ERP.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Les Segundo, our fearless staff person, does everything for us. And then we have Lisa Izumi from HPHA.
Yes. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And then Ron Sato from Helber Hastert Fee, who's a consultant for the agency on their exemption list development. Ron?
Hello.
Thanks for being here. Well, we're gonna jump right into your item. I think first, the last time we saw you, you were here with Hakeem, and I think that was December, right?
Yes.
And then we had the holidays and then this and that. So it's a couple months later. Your list was published for comment in December. We only received one comment to my knowledge, and that was from a council member. Is that true, Les?
That's correct.
Okay. And we got that from Onauna Thone, and that was should have been part of the agenda. And you folks addressed those comments in your cover letter and in the substance of your revised exemption list. Let me give you a chance to just, say anything you like about your list and the process. Lisa or Ron.
I'll take a. So thank you for the comments. Straightforward. We incorporated the comments. There were just two comments on the two items on the UXO. So I had an explanation and suggested changes to clarify that, and the other was on the subdivision. And again, just had an explanation there. It's all on the memo, and again, some revisions to the word to help clarify that for the subdivision. So I think it should, hopefully it's straightforward, but we're here to answer any questions the committee may have. Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. Committee members, did you have any questions or comments on the memo or the revisions to the list? Oh, now I'm just looking at you, but no.
No, I appreciate that you folks, considered our comments and provided responses.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, HPHA.
yeah, I did review them carefully, and I think I appreciate your answer. We have someone else joining us here, Cindy Wacharita. Cindy, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Cindy Wacharita with the School Facilities Authority.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be getting to that list after we're done with HPHA. So join you can just be a spectator for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So let me just ask again, any questions, comments? Well, at this point in the proceedings, I entertain a motion if there is one.
Sure. I'll move to recommend that the HPHA list be concurred with by the council.
Thank you, Onauna. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Makala, thank you. Any discussion about this from anyone in this room?
I guess I would just like to say thank you. Thank you for responding and thank you for considering the suggestions. That I think this is a good example of how this process is supposed to work. So thank you.
No problem, and thank you, HPHA.
Yeah, I like to echo that. You folks did a wonderful job, and you help us. This isn't an exact science developing these lists, and some people think they're just a busy work a little bit. They're really not, because it's as I always point out, exemptions are the most common action that an agency takes with respect to Chapter 343, and you really have to think hard about what you do. And the difference between something that is a part 1 or a part 2 or an EA, those are momentous decisions. And there have been many, there's a lot of heartache on the part of members of the public. And there are many lawsuits about these. So it's extremely important to have a good standardized process where you've thought it through, and you folks appear to have done that to me. So there's no more comments. I'm just going to go ahead and ask for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
I see that it's unanimous, therefore I will not take a roll call vote. Folks, Lisa and Ronald, we're going to go to, this will be taken up by the council at shortly after 1 o'clock. I think will we have a director's report preceding that?
I think we will have, Scott talk for at least 5 minutes or so. Actually, Les, do you know if Scott's going to be joining today?
As far as I know, he should be joining, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say probably his report 5 to 10 minutes top. So you folks might start around 107, maybe 110 for this agenda item, because we have you first up on the list after the director's report.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, we appreciate that, because I think Lisa has another meeting at 1:50.
Actually, it just got canceled by DPP.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Lisa. Yeah, I hope you can join us at about a little after 1, and
Okay.
we should be, dealing with that pretty quickly. And that when the council votes, that's the actual concurrence. Ours is a recommendation to them. We'll be bringing a motion to approve for concurrence, and then we'll see what happens with the council. They were provided all the same materials that were on our agenda here, so they've seen everything. They may simply rely on our committee's recommendation, or they may delve into themselves, and they may have some questions. But very much appreciate you folks showing up to this meeting, and we'll see you a little after 1.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Cindy, I wanted to go over your school facilities authority list, and it looks like you're here solo today.
I do know Executive Director Chad Farias, who's going to try and make it, but I do know he's also scheduled for a legislative hearing today. So I'm unsure if he'll be able to make it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in some time. It'd be nice to see him again if he's on here. Yeah, and what is your position with relationship to the School Facilities Authority and also the development of this list?
I am the business manager with School Facilities Authority, and this EA list was actually compiled with a committee, the SFA board committee. They made a committee just to work on this list, which I also don't see that they're not here. But it was very imperative when they've had these meetings that the list is to be similar to DOE, because we'll be working with them with their facilities and charter schools and whatnot. But they wanted to make sure that the list is similar. So we've had feedback from DOE on the list, and from what I've heard, I didn't hear any bad feedbacks from DOE. They were okay with it.
Yeah, no, they have not submitted a revised updated list, have they?
I heard they were working on it.
Mhm.
So I guess they haven't submitted it. I know they were gonna try and get their AGs involved to help them with their list.
Yeah. I think, Les, was that the agency that we got some sort of preliminary submittal from?
Oh, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I don't have it in my files here. I think we made a comment about the organization of the list and asked them to reconsider. So there, I guess that's good. Well, Cindy, first I want to thank you very much for undertaking to update your list and get in conformance with the new rules. You heard my spiel about how I think it's really important, so I won't repeat that. I did have some concerns with the list, and
Okay.
I'd like to discuss those with you. And County, if he gets on. But I first want to ask the committee members if they have any thoughts.
Yeah, this is Onana. I do want a little bit more time to kind of pick through and spend more time with this particular list. I think there might, one thing that came across was that I don't think you folks really have anything in the Part 2 exemptions category. And so that does give me a little bit of pause. Couple of these things that we're looking at, I think probably could go into that. So, I'll spend a little bit more time with my comments and identifying, which ones I think might be better in a Part 2 rather than Part 1. And apologies for not having prepared today.
Thank you, Onana. Yeah, I think, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to comment. I actually haven't put this list on for action on the council today because I thought I just wanted to discuss it first. And I wanted to, have it on probably the next council agenda to have it for public, review. Yeah, public comment. So that would not be occurring until, with the way things work out, the comments period would kind of start in March, but there is plenty of time for our committee to comment between now and then and including that time. So, Onana, I really would appreciate your close eye. You're always such a great critical reader of these. Other committee members? Makala?
Thank you for the effort that you've made and for the coordination with DOE. I think that's important. And I've not reviewed the list in detail yet either. Apologies, but it just is what it is at this point in the legislative session. It's a crunch all the way around for all of us. I am interested because I've had experience with school facilities in my own life, allowing and providing for some individualized construction or projects that might be exterior. Specifically, I'm thinking of science kinds of projects or ag kinds of projects or that kind of thing that might be water related or not, and so forth. And I'm not sure whether that even would come to your attention as the business manager, but to the extent that individual plants might be doing other stuff, extra stuff, is there a way for you folks to know that or have an inventory of any of that? I'm thinking of things like water catchment or additional well digging or that kind of thing. Cindy, was that something you would know about?
I do know, DOE does have an inventory, of their facilities, including, all of those equipments and, utilities and whatnot. So, if there's anything specific that you would like us to follow up on, we can do that.
Well, I'm interested in the difference between the School Facilities Authority purview and DOE as a whole. I'm not sure that I understand who's in charge of what.
So, School Facilities Authority was established in 2020, but they did not hire anyone until this past May, which would be Director Farias. So we're trying to get a handle of things. We're a 3-man crew right now. I'm hoping to expand. But the idea of School Facilities Authority is to focus on projects outlined by the legislators and the Board of Education and the governor. So for example, right now, the governor's priority is preschool expansion. And that is what School Facilities Authority right now is focusing on. And in the future, it'll probably be more. I know there's rumors about teacher housing and whatnot, but we are based on what the needs the legislators feels that we should be pursuing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that. It sounds like it's a lot of capital projects, huh?
Yes, and for now, DOE also has some capital projects. Maybe in the future it will go to School Facilities Authority, but they are handling repair and maintenance. So
Okay.
that's something they're primarily focused on.
Great, thank you. And I want to welcome into the room Chad Farias, or Keone, as I think I have known him in the past before.
Aloha.
How you doing?
Good.
I'm glad you could make it here. We're kind of midway through discussing, what the agency does and the list. We had some comments from several of our members. I want to now ask Michelle if she had some comments.
Well, I just wondered if maybe we should take a step back. I mean, based on Onana's comment that everything was sort of under part 1 rather than part 2. If it would be helpful, because I know I don't think Cindy was on the committee itself. She's the business manager. If it would help to explain the part 1 versus part 2, just for unless Cindy, you're familiar and you already know.
I've tried to understand the new format. So if you have any comments on that, if there's something that we need to change, that's something we're definitely open to.
Well, Michelle, your comments are similar to mine. Yeah. And I
Maybe-
guess we should explain it. Would you like to do it? Would you like to do
No,
the
no,
honors?
I think it would do better to explain it.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, this is a new thing from 2019, our new rules. And it was to relieve a lot of the burden of preparing exemption notices from agencies for actions that were so minor that it was a little bit absurd that they had to do it. And we were really thinking of things like, Chapter 343 at this point is believed that, I don't want to belabor this too much, but actions that are subject to Chapter 343 include things as manini as purchasing supplies, as hiring personnel or promoting personnel, and filling a pothole. And this is the legislature's, action. It's in the law. And we simply have to administer it through our rules process. And we've struggled with it because we don't want agencies to burden themselves with exemption notices. What we found is that most agencies didn't do exemption notices for those small things. And my feeling was because they weren't doing for the small things, they kind of didn't do them for the big things either. So we had very few exemption notices prepared. And this raised the ire of the public quite often, who said, you guys aren't following the law at all. So we wanted to make it easier for agencies to follow the law. So we created a category of de minimis for the things that you do every day, like purchasing supplies, personnel actions, administrative things, small repairs and replacements and things like that. I kind of like to think of it as a pyramid. And at the bottom of actions are these de minimis actions. That's the great number of things that agencies have to do every single day. You do 10 of them every day. Then there's the non-de minimis, the part 2, they're a little more impactful. Not just filling a pothole, but let's say repairing an entire lane on Kalanianaole Avenue, where you have traffic, you have safety, you have environmental considerations that need to happen. Even if you're not doing an EA, there's still some consideration. And then above that are environmental assessments for things that you really wonder, is there a significant impact? There could be. We have to examine it very carefully in a systematic way to determine it. And at the very top of the pyramid, very few actions rise to the level of an EIS, where you know you have significant impacts. You know you have to really study things carefully and come up with big mitigation measures. So that's where your exemption list fits in. It's those bottom 2 categories, the de minimis, the great majority of actions you undertake, and then the part 2, the ones that need an exemption notice, they need some consultation, and they need notification of the public through a notice in the environmental notice. And that's what our new law requires. And one thing about your list is that everything in here is de minimis. Even if you're creating a gymnasium or a library or doing some pretty significant things, it all ends up as being considered the same as buying a box of paper clips. And there could be, I believe, some adverse environmental impacts that need somebody to take a little bit of a look at when you're doing some of these major projects. And so I would like you to reconsider the list and look at those projects that fit that way. If you like, I could send you a list from another agency that I thought did a great job at sorting the sheep from the goats. And you could kind of see how they were thinking, and a list that got a council concurrence. And so you kind of see where we're leading. I also have some questions about some of these actions that may not be eligible for exemption at all, that may in fact require an EA. And I did want to talk to you about that, but am I speaking Greek, or are you understanding this pretty well?
I understand. And we're open to any comments, and we'll do another look at the list to see those part 1 and part 2.
Okay, that would be great. Do you have my preliminary comments, right?
I don't think I received comments.
Yeah, they're on the agenda, or they should be. They are less, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sent them, and I think the comments you made were like highlighting marks or something.
Right. So it may be a little hard to see, Cindy, but
Okay.
if you go to that PDF and you click on the little highlights, the little text things, my comments are in there. And those are some preliminary ones that I would like you to consider in the next round.
Okay.
I think I'm probably going to have a few more, and I think some of our committee is going to have a few more as well. It's okay for us. This isn't out for public comment, guys, but what's the sunshine law? If you guys send your comments to Les, he can distribute them to the agency, correct?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay. So, Cindy, maybe the next time we meet, you could have considered the comments that I put on that, the version that's in the agenda, plus any other comments you get from any of the committee members here. And I didn't want to put it out to public comment yet because I thought, our comments would probably be, more than Manini. And I didn't want it to all get kind of lost in the shuffle. I didn't want to have a bunch of people in the public commenting on something that, making it hard for you. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think when we do get it out for comment, it'll probably be in a shape that will elicit less reaction. But I did want to emphasize that this is your list. We can't tell you what to put on it. We can give you suggestions, but it is your list. And
Right.
our role is to concur or not concur. And concurrence provides you some value in terms of what you can exempt and can't exempt. But it's basically your decision. So we don't want to presume too much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Ron, if I can add, I guess, just as an example, Cindy, of things that I'm kind of having a gut reaction to, putting changes in furniture under de minimis, totally fine to me. Furniture really doesn't bother me. But, for example, under general type 2, you guys have, 12, 13, and 14, replacement or reconstruction of on-site propane and methane gas systems. Could be okay, could be not, but I kind of think that's more of a part 2, or maybe an exemption notice needs to be done, just so that you folks are showing that you did go through some kind of environmental analysis to determine that there will or will not be an impact, right? Same for replacement and reconstruction of, lined and unlined drainage. Swellage drainage is always kind of an issue. And then the next one, replacement or reconstruction of existing waste treatment facilities where they're not connecting to county sewage, right? So these are, I'm assuming, your individual wastewater systems or whatever systems you have. I don't know if any of the school facilities have cesspools. That's a whole nother issue. But those are the things where I'm kind of getting a gut reaction, or maybe it's more of a part 2 exemption. And I don't know, Ron can assess whether or not that's even more of an EA sort of a thing. But those are the kind of things that we're thinking of in terms of, again, de minimis is really the more administrative stuff, or just really small. I mean, again, replacement and reconstruction is a category that's fine. But depending on what it is, it may, for purposes for you folks, and either to cover yourselves from future challenge, just to kind of show your work that you thought about it. And this is why there won't be environmental impacts, and why it's, appropriate for an exemption.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Anna. Yeah, that's, I guess if we want to get a little bit of a substance.
Are
Les?
you here for a meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hold for a second? Can I help you?
The land use, they have this is a conference room, right?
Yeah, but there's a meeting that's going on right now.
Yes, that'd be somewhere else.
Yeah, land uses are on the corner right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Les.
sorry.
No problem. Yeah, we're gonna get the substance a little bit on page 5. Number 22 is the one that really kind of concerns me. I just think that most of them, not all of them, are probably not appropriate for a part 1 exemption, and some of them would seem to be, these are new facilities, are really EA worthy. I've seen DOE, like when they did the new gym for Hilo High, which I live right next to, they did they did an EA for it. They didn't do an exemption, much less a part 1 exemption where there's absolutely no study at all of it. But I do know you have some special circumstances here that I'd like to talk to you about. This is one that says, any buildings or structures that are part of a planned development with an existing state facility used by the DOE that does not require any offsite and structure improvements. And that's an interesting guardrail on here. And I kind of see where you're going. But I don't know if there's a carve out in the law that exactly fits there. I'm trying to figure that out. If the campus, let's talk about, let's say this is just a campus, okay? Make it simple. If the campus has had an EA for its creation or for its renovation or redo, because some of the, Hilo High is 1 million years old, right? So there's no EA when Hilo High was created. But if they had some other EA in the past few years that said, hey, we're going to put a gym, we're going to put a new administration building, we're going to build a new tennis facility, we're going to do all this. And that was done. And then, a few years down the line, you put the gym in, okay, I think you're probably covered. But if there's been no Chapter 343 document, our rules require us to allow exemptions only for pretty small things. And for buildings, for example, single family homes are exempt, and you can have 2 of them, as many as 2. For commercial type, administrative type structures, it's an occupant load of 20.
Okay.
Which is really small. That's kind of like a barber shop or something. It's not big. A gymnasium or a theater or something like that really doesn't qualify as exempt under those rules unless you've already done an EA or EIS for it.
Yeah, Ron, I had a question on that one too, because my note was, isn't an EA done for this since it was described as a plan development? And maybe Cindy, that might be something that you guys can just enlighten us on, why this number 22 was phrased the way it was, because yeah, again, if it was plan development, you folks probably already did 343, then you wouldn't have to subsequently do an exemption for it. Now, I guess the exception is if there was a programmatic, right? And then you maybe do an exemption under the programmatic. But yeah.
I opened up the DOE 2006 rule and it is identical. The language is identical. So based on what Cindy said in terms of them looking at the DOE list, I wonder if the committee that pulled this together just pulled straight from it's word for word from the DOE.
Yeah. Those are exempt then, but they haven't, in practice, they haven't done that. They have actually done EAs for any major facility. Probably because they felt uncomfortable doing exemptions. I can't speak to what happened in 2006. I'm really glad you looked that up, Michelle. Those were different days. We had different laws and different rules too. So it may have seemed okay then, although I don't think it really was, but it definitely doesn't work now.
That's why I thought maybe just that the explanation you gave, Ron, of the part 1 and part 2, because it seemed like they had just brought over the DOE list thinking, well, that one worked and we're going to tier with them so it matches up. So Cindy, I'm not sure from your side, if you guys take the work on of splitting these out into part 1 and part 2 exemptions based on this, this committee's feedback, probably want to be communicating that with DOE also, because basically you'd be in a way not modifying their list, but you know what I mean, if they are supposed to match up in the end. Guess that's something to consider.
Right. But we'll definitely work with DOE.
Yeah, that's what it's coming down to, right? Is taking what was in the list and now splitting it to meet the new requirements for part 1 and part 2.
But then also reconsidering things that may not be appropriate for exemption. Sure. And I think the key is that any facility that has an occupant load of over 20 and that has not been covered by a previous Chapter 343 document is really should not really be eligible for exemption. And if you're doing capital projects, you might want to include several things in the same EA. So if you're thinking of the next 10 years, we're going to build this, and this on the campus, and none of them are eligible for exemption, then pile them together and do one EA for them one traffic analysis, one drainage analysis, one analysis of effects on utilities, one analysis of effects to view planes. That sort of thing. So that you don't have to do EAs over and over and over again, which I do get. Nobody wants to do that.
Okay, thank you. This is very helpful.
Yeah, great. I just had
And
one last
Ron,
question.
Ron, nobody, sorry, I'm not, Ron, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to see that on the other end. Nobody's looking for these agencies and departments to do money work like that. Because everybody needs the comprehensive picture. Everybody, community planners, permitters, everybody needs the big picture.
Yeah, and that's why, even things that are eligible for exemption, if you have like 20 or 30 of them in the
Then they're
same
not.
site, yeah, they really aren't, because then you start to get cumulative impact from all that, and you really need to look at that in an EA. And we've just got so much feedback from the public about cumulative impact in the last 10 years. People feel that it just hasn't really been addressed properly. And, that goes from EISs to EAs to even exemptions. So yeah, I really liked it. Again, I want to thank you so much for preparing this, for thinking about these things and throwing it out to us here. We look forward to seeing it again. We'll send you some more comments that, hopefully make it easy for you to, organize your thoughts. We want to make this easy and painless and helpful for you. That's our role in the state. So I think we can get on with that. Do you have, Keone or Cindy, do you have any more comments or questions for us?
I don't have any comments. I thank you guys for your help.
Yeah, no problem.
I had one last question. What's a Saran house? Is that like a greenhouse?
That's like a greenhouse, yes.
Okay, thank you.
As in saran wrap.
Okay.
No, I had just, no, I mean, I inferred greenhouse because the next term was hothouse, but I wasn't 100% sure. Okay.
Never heard one called that before. It doesn't sound very breathable.
Yeah, don't wrap me in that.
Yeah, please no.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we can put this item to bed for right now. Committee members, please prepare some comments and get them to Les so that he can transmit them to the agencies, as soon as possible, so that we can take this up on our. I'd like to have all the comments to them within a week. I know that's a short turnaround, but that allows them to look at it and gives them 2 weeks if they want to prepare another version. If they need more time, that's fine, but that would at least give them 2 weeks. Then they can submit to us ahead of, let me tell you the deadline that you would need to get it on the next meeting, if you're interested in coming back to us in March.
Hey, Ron, can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
I mean, I would actually like to see the agency take a shot at redistributing things between part 1 and part 2 before we provide comments, just because I'm a little worried that we'll have other, I mean, if, all 4 of us are making comments on the list and then things are getting reshuffled. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a brilliant idea as usual. Oh, no. Are you folks in a huge hurry, or could you just turn us around another list and then we will, I think you get the gist of what we're talking about. And then we'll comment on that, which will result in probably a lot less comments.
We can do a quick turnaround.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds brilliant. So if you do that and get it to us by 10 days, I'd say, ahead of our next meeting, which is going to be March 6th. So I think,
March 7th.
what's that?
March
7th, thank you, 7th. So that would be about, well, let's shoot for February 24th. If you could get us something by the 24th to less, that's not a holiday, or is it, or anything, right? If you can get it to Les, he'll get it to me. And then I can put it on my agenda, which I have to prepare over the weekend or on Monday. And then we can actually have it available for the March meeting. And if you're not in a big hurry, you could wait longer and we'll just have it at a subsequent meeting. But if you'd like to get this on the March, get us a revision by February 24th.
We can definitely do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
If it takes longer to hear back from DOE, if this is, something you have to coordinate with them.
Right.
Okay, well, great. Cindy, again, thank you very much. Thank you and your team for being here. And we look forward to seeing the next version of the list.
Thank you. We appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that concludes the work on that item. The next thing we have up is the minutes. Right from, let me see, I don't have the agenda right in front of me. Am I jumping into anything? Minutes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where's my agenda?
Possible, oh yeah, minutes was next, yeah. Number 3.
Okay, and here's, yeah, possible new initial review process. I would like it if we have enough time to discuss that. It may be, I think hopefully we will. So as far as the minutes, do you guys have any comments?
No comments on the minutes from me.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, great. That's so can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Michelle, okay. All in favor of approving the December or November? Is it a November meeting?
November.
Okay,
November.
all right. Okay, great. Unanimous. I won't take a roll call. Okay, let's get to our final agenda item. And this is so untimely because I saw that we have our procedures, policies and procedures already. And I'm saying that maybe we want to change them a little bit. I want to think about it.
That's fine. You can just send it to me. I mean, we didn't really set a deadline for finalizing our policies and procedures, and we're now in version 6, and I feel like every time we revise, somebody's like, oh, change this. So,
Yep. Well, I guess it's supposed to be a living document anyway.
it's a
Right?
living document. So yeah, I think that's why we moved that way. So yeah, it's okay.
Well, I'm trying to have a more efficient initial review process because I feel, the idea was originally the director and the exemptions committee chair were to share responsibility for initial review. That's when Scott was the director of OEQC. And as soon as Scott left, that fell away because Keith was our guy and he was definitely not interested in that. And then we had then we got transferred to another agency where our director, we were just one of many responsibilities for the director. And Mary Alice, I talked to her and she said, nope, I don't want to do it either. I didn't blame her. And then Scott doesn't want to do it either. So that puts it all on me. Now that it's not about a work burden. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm happy to do it. I like looking at them, but I don't think I think the reason we have a committee is because we got 4 brilliant minds here to look at things in different ways. And if they only have my input, and especially if you guys haven't looked at it until the meeting, which has happened a couple of times, admit it, right? You haven't looked at the list until the meeting, maybe 10 minutes before the meeting, then when we have the discussion with the agency, it seems a little uncomfortable. Because some of you are looking at it for the first time and having questions about this or that are probably, could have been answered by a more careful review. Or Onauna's looking, she's looked at it and she's got some amazing comments that I'm going, oh shit, I should have seen that. So, I might be saying one thing and she's saying another, and just using Onauna as an example. And I think it might be better if we all did the initial look. This is going to slow things down a bit. Because right now I usually get those comments and I include them in the first agenda for it being considered. So it's really fast. They might send it to me on the 10th of the month, and I review it. And I send it back to them on the 15th, and they may even send me another version. And then I bring those to you guys. And then, everybody feels like we're kind of far along in the process, but really not. So I'm thinking about, what we did with School Facilities Authority today. I'm thinking about having that be the way we do it every time. That we look at it once just as a committee. And we don't have anything scheduled for the Environmental Advisory Council. And then the next meeting, we do it. And that will sometimes unnecessarily delay it for a month. So that it ends up taking 3 months instead of 2 at the fastest. But I think it'd be more efficient. And of course, it will only work if everybody, you're not going to be able to rely on me as much. I want you to not rely on me as much, having done a brilliant, comprehensive review that you can really kind of coast on. And I don't mean to be snark, because I'm on committees where the chair does all the work too, so yeah, I just kind of look at it a few minutes before the meeting and go. But I'm not saying you do that for every list, but I think we all have to look at it closely. As soon as the agenda comes out, we have to look at that list, and perhaps earlier. And that's what I'm wondering about. If somebody sends me a list on the 1st of the month, it's not going to make the agenda for that meeting. But there's a whole month now till the next one. And I would sure love your guys' eyes on it during that period, even though it hasn't been on an agenda. What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I don't always do better when given more time, but I think because that's just not how we roll, right? I was struck. I was listening, honest engine. I was listening, but I was struck as you were talking with the pictures on my screen, because we each have such different experiences and angles on these things, right? I mean, you as a preparer and Michelle as a preparer, but Onauna as the defender and me as the protagonist, it's like it really is a balanced look. If we all look, it's really a well-rounded look. I am looking for the kinds of things that I think y'all are going to miss. The big stuff I don't even make notes on, because I'm no fool. I know you're going to catch it. So I'm looking for that oddball thing that the guy living next door, for example, the school thing. What is the person next door to this facility experience? What, are there fumes? Are there, stuff like that? But cases that I've been part of in the past, or that kind of stuff. So I think it's worth, my point is, I think it's worth our time to take that broad, comprehensive look, which I think just by the virtue of who we are, we do. And I don't see the rush. Frankly, coming from a county that has yet to even do one, I don't have any sense of rush, right? I mean, they haven't had one forever, and I'm struggling to get them to do one. So I can't rush them. I can't get them to do it at all. So
I really love those comments. Thank you, Makal. I really love those comments, and I'm taking that as supportive of this process.
Sorry, yeah.
And no, I really, that's what I want, is I want your off the wall take, something that I don't see. And I get it from each one of you. And I just want the agency to get that unified, comprehensive look, and not me editing their list into something that they think is good. And then all of a sudden, it gets shot down because there's a more comprehensive look at it. So we're running out of time here, but if you guys don't mind, I want to kind of redo the procedures and rewrite them up. Now, after that though, Nana, do we need to have approval by the council, you
I
think?
mean, we should approve our policies. The INO committees was approved by INO, but the overall general policies probably at some point should have an approval for these are our current policies. We're still in working draft form.
So what if I write up a draft?
Yeah,
and
that
have it
should
on
probably come to our committee first, right? I mean, make sure.
at the next meeting?
Yeah. And, to that extent, I mean, I'm fine with essentially adding more time for committee review, but if we're gonna do that, I mean, I don't think we should be adding another meeting that the agency reps need to come to. You know what I mean?
No, I would
So
agree.
we're not, so for that initial meeting, we're not gonna invite the agency guys, right? Because I think we should work out our comments internally and kind of give them to them. These are our committee comments, just because there might be something I comment on and Ron, you disagree, and I don't know that we shouldn't be sending them comments from 4 separate people to kind of lead through. I don't think that's more efficient. I mean, they're gonna, you know what I mean? If we're gonna provide them comments as a committee, we should do it as a committee. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any thought on that, because I thought we had in the past when this, and I could be wrong, but I thought we did want to try to limit the number of meetings. I mean, for them to come to three separate council meeting days is kind of a lot,
Okay,
but-
we can't keep them out because
No, but I'm just saying, you can invite them, but tell them, this is our initial review, we're considering it, but you're not required to be there to respond to questions at this first one.
Okay.
Yes, at the second one, we actually consider whether or not we're going to recommend it for action to the council. I think that would
Okay.
be good, but if we're going through it and you're saying, okay, let's spend more time as a committee going through these comments, I don't think they should be on the Zoom with us while we're like reading through the list and arguing.
I like that
You
idea.
know.
So maybe that
Yeah.
first one, we can't keep them away. If they want to be there, they can, but
Right.
we're just simply going to develop our comments at that meeting. We're going to finalize our comments. We'll each come
Yeah.
with ideas, and then we'll walk away with probably delegated to the chair to develop a unified set of comments.
Yeah, because in all honesty, I mean, you've had to text me like for the really important ones, hey, can you look at this? Like I try to limit my days per month. I mean, I have to dedicate, council days on when I can work on things, right? I can't always commit to, okay, this list came on an X day, look at it in 2 days. It just might not happen. But if we're using our committee meetings as a working session, I mean, that's a dedicated time where we know we're all going through it. And I can get on board with that. But yeah, of course, it's a sunshine meeting. They can come if they want, but I think we should make it clear to them that our new process, we're kind of using it as a working meeting, and we do expect you at the second meeting so that we can ask questions and kind of, refine our comments at that
Right,
point.
or we'd very much like to see you at the second meeting because we can't.
I think
summon
today,
that either.
I don't know if today's is kind of an exception, but it's one where it's really good that they were at the first meeting, because we would have spent this whole meeting going line by line, figuring out which one's part 1, which one's part 2, only to have them come back and be like, oh, we just copied DOE's list. Now we got to go.
Yeah, but I mean, in that case, I think we should have even, and I know, Ron, you've done it before, just instead of, saying, hey, we'll give you comments, just tell them like, hey, you didn't even put anything in part 2. Maybe, yeah, offline, like if you have a question, happy to explain it, but this is really not ready for a review. It's not in a format that's ready for the council members to spend. And sorry for saying that, but I don't think it's for us. Anybody has time to go and say, well, I think this should be part 1, this should be part 2. I want to see what they think, and then
Oh, no, I agree.
yeah.
Just and I agree with the format you and Ron were just discussing, where then we get to work on it together. I'm just saying in that, if we had done that today, we might have gone down the road where we did spend the whole meeting. If they
Right.
had getting their, getting the background, understanding the context of how they prepared the list. And so we might have gone down that road. It's fine. And maybe this is more of an and more that doesn't often happen like this. And
Maybe that's a good question, Michelle, to add to the procedures that when an agency submits their list, we request context for how they developed it. If it was a, copy paste of somebody else's list, or, well, kind of what's the history? I don't know, Ron, what your thoughts are in that.
No, that's really good, because I do find, and a lot of times when we have a dispute, somebody say, well, I got this straight from the deal on our list, and which you guys approved. And, Onana will say, well, agencies are different, and, there's different,
Yeah.
contexts for how you do it. But, and it's hard for us to check every single list in the state and cross compare. So it'd be nice if they tell us what their thinking is.
Yeah.
I think we're not going to have a perfect process no matter what we do.
Right.
We're going to waste some time and have some embarrassing moments, but I think this can be improved. I'll give it some thought and come up with some draft procedures, and we can tear those apart at the next meeting and come up with something good. We're not in a hurry, so we can do that. And we got our council meeting in 4 minutes, so I think I'm gonna adjourn this meeting if everybody is okay. All right. Thank you so much. This was very productive.
Yeah, good work.
See you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Les. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you.